Hello, hello. Hi, Amber. Good to see you. Hello, 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 everybody. Hi, Rhonda. Wow, you guys are here. Johnny's on the spot, or Jill's on the spot. You're Amber and Rhonda on the spot. It's been a long weekend. Great weekend. Long weekend. We had so much fun. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. Oh, I forgot to put my ring on. Oh well. Oh well. It's too bad, so sad. There's Peggy and Leah. Hello, hello. We're doing great here. Doing great. I'm glad you're here. I'm feeling much better than I did on Friday when I was streaming. I was really dragging. I was really dragging Friday. We had company coming, and I was dragging my behind me. I mean, I was super dragging. Anyway, I didn't get much of a nap, got a little nap, and again, we were up. I was up until basically 2:30 in the next morning, so I went through 2 nights of very little sleep. But you know what? I'm doing great now. Doing great now. Hello, Catherine. Oh, it's good to have you guys here. Rhonda knows the feeling. I bet you do. Yeah, so the older I get, the less efficient I am at functioning without good sleep. Truly. I need to have a dream now and then. Hello, Connie. So while people are kind of coming in, I thought I would read you one of the things that I found in one of the magazines when I was going through it, because we talk about this periodically, and we talked about it not too long ago when I was painting on brown paper grocery bags and then cutting them down and making them into a letter envelope kind of thing. This is called The Art of the Letter, and we talked about the importance of sending letters. Handwritten letters are really meaningful to people, not just a text, not just an email, but an actual handwritten letter. So this is from library conservator Jana D'Ambrogio. I don't know, probably didn't say that right, but whatever. Was studying a massive collection of 10th to the 17th century documents from convents and monasteries when she stumbled onto something strange. Papers that featured deliberately made holes, folds, and slices, some as small as 2 millimeters. She discovered that the marks were an intricate series of techniques. Boy, I need a little more sleep so I can form words. They were an intricate series of techniques intended to secure the letters and keep them private, a method she dubbed as letter locking. Hello, Making Crafts. And who else? Ellen, hello. Amber's been shopping. There's Connie. Okay. Anybody that comes in, please make each other welcome. Letter locking is a combination of folding, tucking, or sealing techniques that were used to ensure letters reached their destination without being read. These strategies were critical before the invention of gummed envelopes, and D'Ambrogio has since studied examples dating back to the 1300s. In addition to simple folding and tucking, letters were adhered with wax or other sealants. We know about the little wax seals that you can use an initial or a sign, a crest, or a symbol or something. They can be tied with silk floss or twine, or locked by inserting paper, sometimes even a portion slice from the letter, through a cut made in the paper. Different strategies were used depending on the type of message or how sensitive the contents of the letter were. Letter locking was discovered by accident because, this is a quote from this person. Letter locking was discovered by accident because I wanted to figure out what to conserve and not conserve, said D'Ambrogio. The Thomas F. Peterson, 1957, conservator for Massachusetts Institute of Technology Libraries in Cambridge, Massachusetts. That is who she is. It was a very long title I just read. No wonder I got myself confused. That's who she is. Anyway, after graduate school in 2001, she landed a Crest Fellowship at the Vatican Secret Archives in Vatican City. Did you know there was a Vatican Secret Archives? I did not. Where she found the cache of locked letters, which were legal and accounting documents. Fresh out of school, she was afraid to touch them. Quote, I didn't want to break anything at the Vatican, but I wondered why people had made holes on purpose. Danielle Starza Smith, a King's College London English lecturer, heard about D'Ambrogio's work and contacted her when he had identified some of these physical features in his own research and was interested in the locking techniques. Together, they examined these locking features on letters by poet John Donne. Quote, we could both see we had a new picture of what a letter does, how it works, and how people in the past may have thought about them. So, when I was thinking about this, as I read it, I thought about the seals, the sealing wax, but I never really thought so much more about the way that they might have otherwise locked the letters. They assembled a team, these two people assembled a team of conservators, paleographers, literary scholars, publishers, book artists, imaging experts, engineers, and scientists to continue the exploration. I mean, these people were serious. Quote, humans have been thinking about privacy and security. They would have a heart attack today if they knew how little privacy we had, but that's another story. And building it into our correspondence for as long as we have been committing our thoughts to clay or walls or paper or parchment, says D'Ambrogio. These locking techniques have also captured the attention of artists who see applications in art journals, mail art, bookmaking, and paper art. To truly understand the work of letter locking, the team began creating models and sharing them with others. They have now given away more than 12,000 models, which is a letter. A letter could be unlocked by my 5-year-old niece or nephew, our parents, or a top scholar from Oxford, and everyone has the same reaction to it, D'Ambrogio said. The locked model is a tool of engagement. It breaks down the communication barrier and builds a pathway to discussion, curiosity, and discovery. D'Ambrogio and Smith's team, the Unlocking History Group, have created an online dictionary of terms and videos demonstrating many of the techniques. They also offer hands-on workshops at museums, universities, and schools. So if you want to know more about this, look up letterlocking.org. And I have this, I don't know how old, this was from 2018, so I'm not sure what's there at this point. But anyway, letterlocking.org. But I wanted to show you a picture of this letter here. Okay. This is a paper lock now, like that. And so that's one way of doing it. You see that there's, I don't know if you can tell, but there's intricate little slices in the paper, so it goes in there exactly at the right angle and all of that, so it can't be disturbed. And you would know if you got a locked letter, you would know if somebody had read it, because if they didn't know how to unlock it, they would rip it, so you would know somebody had read it. Anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. So, letter locking. So I showed you what back before Valentine's Day, I showed you a heart that I had folded, and it's not that hard to do, but if you don't know how to do it, how to unlock it and how to lock it back for privacy, it's a kind of a curious little structure. Anyway, letter locking. There you go. Okay. So I think we have quite a few people here at the moment. Another thing that I pulled out of my files of stuff is an article that was published in 2012 in a magazine called Cloth, Paper, Scissors. It's an old magazine, no longer published, sadly. And this was called A Year of Art Prompts, and it's 365 art prompts. And I did not pull out, this is actually 52, so it's one prompt per week. But I just thought I would read a few of these, and I thought we might do something with these. Anyway, hello Joyce, good to have you here. I'm so glad you're all here. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here. So here's one. The first one is write a list of simple but inspiring words. That is up my alley all day long. You know, I have a word journal of my favorite words. I've shown it a bunch of times. I'll show it here again in a minute. Let me pull it out so I don't forget. I'll show you a little bit of it. It is one of my favorite journals, and it is so poorly done. Anyway, so write a list of simple but inspiring words such as alive, balance, courage, enough, mindful, play, story, trust. Cut the list up and put the strips in a cup. Then write a list of colors, cut the list up, put the strips in a second cup. Pick one paper from each cup to kickstart your next project. That's a good idea. Yeah. Hey, Dana, good to see you. If I don't say hello to you, it's just because I miss seeing your name. So anyway, I'm glad you're here. So that's a pretty good idea. Simple, but a good idea. I'm going to just read the first 5, and then I'll show you my journal. Number 2, cut a small square or a circle out of a piece of paper and use it as a viewfinder to look around the room to isolate patterns and color combinations. Draw or paint what you see. So what they're talking about is taking like a little card and making a shape, and then holding it up and looking around, and not being concerned with items that you're seeing through the little hole in the paper or the card, but patterns. And so that's a way to get yourself started, because sometimes just starting in a journal, that's the hardest part. Starting anything for me is the hardest part. Starting to clean my house, starting to cook dinner, starting to do anything, starting to pay bills. That's always the hardest thing, is the starting point. Starting to clean up this room. Yeah. You'd think I was being punished by cleaning up this room that I sit in. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, number 3. Number 3. Set a timer and see what you can accomplish in a set amount of time. That's a really good one. And if you give yourself 15 minutes or 10 minutes or something, and then do whatever you can in that length of time, set a timer so you can hear it go off. And sometimes that just gets you going. And if you want to keep working or playing or whatever after that, that's perfectly fine too. Okay, number 4, look at art from a different culture and then dive into it in your sketchbook. And that's a great idea too. Or look at a different artist like Gustav Klimt or, you know, all the big ones. Starry Night artist. Could be a composer also. It could be any number of people. And so there's just all kinds of ways that you can kind of get yourself jump started if you think you're stuck. Number 5, this is the last one. We'll stop with this one. Allow yourself to sit at your work table for 5 minutes. This could be a kitchen table, could be a desk, could be a dedicated art table. Sit there for 5 minutes. Sometimes just getting to the table is the challenge. That's like the getting started thing. The rest is easy. And a lot of it really is after that. Okay? So those are some art prompts to kind of get you started. So how about if I show you this journal? This one is an old journal. This is back before I knew anything much about paper. Hey Sharon, good to have you here. This is one of those things that you look at and you go, now that I know, when you know better, you do better. That's one of those. So when I bought this, I didn't know that there were different kinds of paper, that there were different kinds of journals, that there were different kinds. I had accumulated some art supplies, but not very many. This one, I had no idea that this was not good, really good for an art journal. So it is a sketchbook, and sketchbook paper is different than drawing paper, which is different than mixed media paper, which is different than writing paper. They all have their own unique qualities. This is a sketchbook, and the paper is, let's see if I can show you. I don't know if I can show you what this paper is like, but it's very delicate, shall we say. It falls apart easily. It is meant to use pencils or charcoal or something like that. You can sketch on it with colored pencils. You could sketch on it with pens, but it is definitely kind of a soft paper. So this is my book, and that I started. One of the things right off the bat that I will tell you that I'll tell you the things I don't like as I go through it. This particular paper, and I don't think you can see it, but it's perforated right in here. So it's perforated just outside the spiral. And so what happens is when it gets damp, it starts separating and falling apart. If it gets damp in here where the coils are, it does things like this. The paper disintegrates and it comes apart. So at some point I'm going to have to actually make a box for this and put the pages in a box, because also I chose the wrong kind of paper for adding all this stuff to it. But the other thing that happened, I did it on both sides. I worked on both sides of the paper, and so that made it even more fragile. So, okay. So this is my book of words. I used a lot of mixed media techniques on here. I didn't actually want it all to be easily read, and so it's not easily read. So when you look at this, there's a lot of stuff in this book that is meaningful to me that you might not even understand, okay? And that's okay with me because I did this for myself. All right, so this is my book of words I love. I had, at one point in time, this was years ago, I had a really hard time going to sleep at night. My brain would just get so clogged up with thoughts, and for whatever reason, the reasons don't matter, but it would get so clogged up with thoughts, and I could not allow myself, I couldn't relax enough to go to sleep. And so I made this book, and one of the things I used to do was to recite the words that I love. I would go down the alphabet and I would go through as many words as I could remember. And most of the time I would go to sleep fairly quickly once I started this technique. So, all right, so I found this set of flashcards, which I still have, the rest of this set of flashcards. They were in a very expensive kids like baby and children's store. And so I bought this set of flashcards thinking this is the dumbest thing I've ever done, because they were like, I don't know, $30 for the alphabet. But I decided that I liked it and I was worth it. And so I started with the letter A because that's the beginning of the alphabet. So the background of these pages is all different techniques that I was wanting to try. And so there's collage pretty much on every page. And also there's tape that I have put over all of the perforations. It doesn't stop this from disintegrating, but it at least stopped the perforation from letting the pages fall out of the book. So I did thicken up the pages by gluing stuff to the pages. I did not solve this issue right here, which is why it's going to have a box someday. Anyway, so I took my first card. This one I splattered ink on. I had saved all kinds of alphabets that I bought at, this is when scrapbooking was really big, and so I bought different sets of alphabet letters in the scrapbook department, and rub-ons and anything I could find that had to do with letters or phrases. And so then I took those, and then I would pull out the things that had to do with A and that were words that I liked. Sometimes I just liked the letters. Sometimes I liked the phrase. Like this was a sticker that was, the word is adorable. This one, there are letters here that I cut out of a magazine. It's a very skinny A, R-T, and then artistry and attitude. This was a sticker. This was a magazine. This was a sticker. Some of these were stickers from alphabets. And then this was a little tiny book that I made with, I stamped the letter A over and over and made that little tiny book for whatever reason. And then every one of these flashcard things, they're kind of a lightweight chipboard, and each one I tried to put into the book in a different way. Okay, so there's a small A and a capital A, and then I just took a legal pad and I put in here my list, and that way I can keep adding to it. So this is my A list, and I have a dictionary, and so I cut out some of the A words and put in here. So there's awesome, abundant, aligned, acceptance, admiration, adoring, adoration, adorable, attuned, adventure, art, assurance, allow, amazing, appreciation, artistic, artful, attractive, authentic, acceptance, aspire to be, and artify. That's a made-up word that I made up. Anyway, and so then I continued it because I did a 2-page spread for each letter. And And so many of these are these are rub-ons. Some of these are stamps. This was in the days of, these things where they would, it was in the scrapbooking stuff. I don't even know where I got it, but it's like a slide mount, except it's not. It's just a wannabe slide mount. And I put a phrase under it. Yeah, so that's what this is. It is just a mishmash of A words that I liked. And it was good for me to do that. And some of them I cut out myself, just randomly cut out of papers that I had on hand. And so I can always come back and add another word to this and that kind of thing. Okay? This is the B page. I won't spend as much time going through all of this as I did on the A page, but that just explains to you kind of how I was approaching this. So this is my B page. So I reshaped the flashcard a little bit. I had a ton of butterflies back then. I still have quite a few. And so I added lots of butterflies on here and attached my card. And this was a sticker. This was something where I cut the letters out of this piece of paste paper to use on something else. So this was the trash that was left behind, so I put it on here. So there is all of my B words, Plan B. I thought that was good too. I haven't looked in here for a long time. Remember the butterflies. Butterflies are very significant in my life. So anyway, there's that. C. So here's the C page. And so some of these I added more stuff. Like I stamped a whole bunch of coffee things on here. And added some words back here. Suffering from curiosity. Create your own masterpiece. Celebrating. And back here is a bunch of dictionary words that I liked, and so I put them in there. This is capable. So this is done with stamping using foam stamps and so forth and so on and so on. And so here is D. So again, I have reshaped the flashcard each time. Denim, because I wear denim all the time. More D words from the dictionary. Sometimes the words are easier to find than others, as far as things where you can cut them out or find them as a phrase or as a rub-on or whatever. This is deserve, so that's done with stamps also. And I use different, and this one says direction. I did them with different color schemes on each page also. That doesn't have anything to do with this. Okay, and so my E page, where's my E page? Stuck together. Okay, so here's the E page. This one I put on with a brad so that it would swing out of the way. And again, more words underneath there. Some of these are images that I cut out of magazines. So this was an image here and with the word explore. So anyway, a lot of E things on here. And this, like I said, was from something else. And here's the F page. And some of these are, this was a sticker which says friends. And so it looks like it's put on here with paint. Down there in the bottom, it's not, it's actually a sticker. So these are all F things and different kinds of colors and, whatever I decided to put around here. Half of it, I don't even know what I did. I don't remember. And then I got to the G page, and this one I played around with texture paste, so through a stencil, so all of that is a texture paste, and some of it stuck to something else, and you know, I don't worry about stuff like that. So this is my G page, so I let it just open from the edge of the book. So a lot of different things to do with G, and that is pretty much as far as I got in the book. I had started on this, so this is going to be the H page, and the primary thing in my life is home and what home means to me, and so that was the starting point from here. But I haven't gone any further, although I do have a list of things to either add to the page or things that I want to add to it. And then I have stuff stuck in the journal. So here are many of my H words. There's my H card, and a lot of these pages have this journal I actually used for wiping off different kinds of mixed media things. Most of it's paint, but some of it is ink and some of it's stencils. But I have to be a little careful because the paper is pretty fragile, and that was one reason I kind of stopped working in it, because I got very frustrated with the fact that I had to be so careful. If the paper got damp, it was just so it would just kind of pull apart in my hands. But I still like to look through it because, you know, it makes me remember why I started it. And this was really back before I was doing a lot of writing. So this was a way that I kind of processed that stuff that would get hung up in my head. Anyway, this is just scrape paint on there. Scrape paint on that. Anyway, you don't have to finish a journal to enjoy it. You don't have to finish a journal for it to be meaningful. So, anyway, there you go. So that kind of goes along with some of the stuff that I was just talking about. Hi, Alicia. Good to have you here. Sorry, by the end of the day, especially because I haven't had just a metric ton of sleep the last few days, by the end of the day, my voice starts getting a little, kind of goes away a little bit. So you might have to just be a little patient with my gravelly voice. It must be my sexy voice, right? Okay, I'm rolling up my sleeves because it's time for us to get busy. So we may talk more about art prompts as we go along. Maybe we'll work in this word journal, who knows. Anyway, so let's go back to what we were doing on Friday. You know, the thing about that journal too, that it's a pretty good sized journal, so it has a lot of real estate in it. You would not have to work in a journal that was that big. In fact, if I were going to do it again, I would do a much smaller journal. And but there's just so much of what's in there that I just love that I don't have the heart to, you know, start over completely. So, but if I were to do it again in a different iteration, I would do a smaller journal. Another thing you could do is use an old Rolodex. That would be an excellent way to do some sort of word, positive word listing. But you could do it in a much smaller format because your Rolodex cards, if you can find one, they're so small. So you would still have really good things you could do. You just wouldn't have to do as much. So anyway, there you go. Okay, so what we started on Friday, when I could barely talk, I was so tired. I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. What we were doing on Friday is we were using watercolor paper and some watercolors. Most of this was from the Sakura, or the Gansai Tambi watercolors, the ones in the little rectangular pans, and then I had a little bit of some other watercolors, so they were a little bit better quality watercolors than I normally work with. And we just did circles and different colors of circles, and then in some places dropped in some salt. And so once the salt, this happened to be kosher salt, so the different size grains of salt will affect the paint in different ways. If you use ice cream salt, you get a much different effect than you do with table salt or kosher salt. And so I did not put salt on every one of these. I just put them on some of them and then let them dry. And then I showed you how I was taking the circles, and this is just kind of taking the idea from when we did the flowers before. We were doing something kind of similar, but just making flower shapes instead. So just making blobs of watercolor, sort of in flower-esque forms. Suggestion, essence of flowers, okay? And then we just used pens, black pens, and I just did very loose floral shapes. So what this was to do was to take kind of the same idea, but just with big circles, and then just letting the watercolor play, and then just letting those shapes show me what they wanted to be, and adding patterns and sort of mandala sort of forms. This one is very loose, and I think I did most of this with you guys except for the background, and I wanted to show you the background. I'll show you how I did it in a little bit. I mean, it is obviously just dots, but I'll show you the process that I used as I did those. Okay, so that's that one. And then this is another one. This is the sheet that I did with you, and here is another one of those sheets. And so today I had the chance to just sit and doodle. And so this is more heavily doodled than the other one that I showed you. And it's not even, some of them are sort of mandala-like, and some of them are just simply doodled, like this one and this one. They're just kind of doodled with the pens, just, you know, whatever I saw within the shapes. This one also, this was outlining, taking this where the salt crystals were and just kind of outlining outlining those salt shapes and just kind of playing around with it. And I would turn the paper one way and then turn the paper a different way, because it really doesn't matter, you know, what comes out. Okay? So that's that one, but you can see hopefully the difference, and you may like it like this if you do this with just the white background, or you may want to put a background in it. I suggest that you put the background in after you're finished. And also, you could also paint a background in. You could loosely paint a watercolor background in, going around your artwork, and then you have to let it dry, but you could do that as well. One of the really interesting ways to add a background into something like this is to use black watercolor but thin it down, yes, there is another watercolor that is a gray color that is escaping my head. but it's kind of a blue-gray dark color, and it's a wonderful color, and one of you will know what it is because one of you will put it in the chat, like probably Rhonda. And as soon as you write it in, I will go, yep, that's it. But it's a really nice color. It comes in acrylic and all different kinds of media. And that makes a really nice background. But just thin it down so it's not, Payne's Gray is it. Thank you, Amber. Yeah, Payne's Gray is it. It's a really dark, it's not black, but it's very dark gray, but it has a distinct blue cast to it. And if you thin it way down and go around your circles, and you don't have to go right up next to the circles, just leave. It's okay if some of the white, if there's some white that shows around them. Yeah, it's one of Amber's favorite colors. Yeah, it is. It's a really good color. It just takes you away from coal black. Sometimes if you use certain blacks, they get really dark. And so I like it when it's not super dark. But I also like it like this, where it's just a white background. Okay? All right. So let's talk about how I did. One of the things I'm going to do on this is I'm going to add some white. This has no white added into the designs. This is only with black. And so I think I may add some white into this. And then we'll put in a background. And then we'll probably cut it up because we can. And because we can always make another one, you know? Okay, let me come in a little bit. There we go. So these little containers I've shown these before. I got these at Target, and these are supposed to be waterproof and spill proof, and they're supposed to be for prep, for meal prep. If you were gonna do, go to the store and get all your ingredients and then cut everything up into small pieces so you're all ready to cook. Makes it easy and that kind of stuff, which I'm not gonna do, by the way. But somebody else mentioned how good these containers were for keeping your pens from drying out, so I thought I'm gonna try that. And she had talked about using Rubbermaid containers, and the Rubbermaid ones that I found were glass, and I don't want glass containers in here. So these were from a different company that was, let's see if I can tell you. Ello, ELLO is the brand of these. Let's see. There it is. ELLO. Anyway, you get like 5 of them in one container, or one wrapped together. So that's how they come, 5 in a package, and they're colored. So you get blue ones, you get blue, and you get green and purple and pink. And so I'm going to see how it works. They stack. So we're going to use some white and just put some white on here. And it's perfectly fine if you want to just only use black, but the white will tend to make it sparkle a little bit. So let's play with some white. Okay. All right. Hopefully I am zoomed in enough that you can see okay. And the white pens that I'm using, this is a Panda Fly. This one is something else. I don't even know what it is. It's not Panda Fly. It's from a different set. And this is, I don't know. I can't read that either, whatever that says. They were sold on Amazon close, when I searched for Panda Fly, this set came up as well, and I thought, I'll try it. But what's cool about this is it has a dot end, and then the other end of it is a brush marker if you want to use a brush marker. So this one and this one, that was a whole set of like, I don't know, 8 pins or something. And I don't know anything about it really. I just decided I'd try them. Panda Fly, I've heard lots of people who really like this Panda Fly, and so I thought we'll try it. And you know, you can always have a better white pen, or and this container right here, this whole container is nothing but white pens. The whole thing is white pens. That is how much we are in search of white pens. Yes. Okay, so let's just play with this, and then we'll talk. And I may use some more black here as well. So we'll chat while I do this. Just looking for some. I have a few black pens, not in the black pen container, but just in a little zipper pouch on my desk, because I grab those very frequently. Okay, so let's just kind of start down here. So this weekend, my granddaughter was here. My granddaughter and her family, they got in Friday night at 2 in the morning is when they got here. And we stayed up. She sent me a note and said, you don't have to stay up and wait for me. And I'm like, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Of course I'm going to stay up and wait for you, silly girl. And once they got here, they were traveling with two little ones, and so that's why they just kept on going. And we all went to bed about 2:30 or 2:45 in the morning. And of course the kids had been asleep for a long time. So by 6, the little boy, who is not 2 yet, he was ready to get up. Of course he was, right? Because that's what kids do. That is what they do. But I do have a funny story to tell you about him. I'm just going to come down here and I'm just going to play with some white sparkle. And I'm going to use white and black only until I get to the background. When I get to the background, then we'll use some other pens. But hopefully you can see, and you got to keep your hands out of it, because it does take these pens a minute. It does take them a minute to dry. So you got to keep your hand, know where your hand is, in other words. And sometimes I go over the white a second time because the liquid in the pen will reactivate my watercolor. And so sometimes you got to go after it a second time. Okay. So, I'm just going to keep playing here a little bit. And it doesn't really matter what you do. It's just a matter of I'm just playing and adding some details here and there. And I'm not going to worry about this one little individual section of this, because what I really want to do is see it as a whole. And if I cut it up, which I am going to do, I'm going to cut it up and use it for other stuff, it doesn't make any difference. It just doesn't make any difference if it's not perfect. In fact, perfection as we have talked about many times, highly overrated. So I just kind of go through this, and I just kind of play with it as, I guess to say, I just play as I'm inspired to. Or I add things without thinking about it. That's probably more accurate. To add without thinking. Keep your hands moving. Okay, so we're just going to call that little section probably done. Let's go on to this green one right here. So yes, the baby, who is not 2 yet, woke up. He was awake at 6 on Saturday morning. So he was ready to have breakfast. And he has changed so much since I saw him the last time. This is a great grandchild. And he has changed so much. Now we can have conversations together. And his name is Liam, and I can say, Liam, did you sleep okay? And he looks at me. I mean, you don't expect this little guy to answer. I didn't, because it's been, I don't know, a few months, 6 months or so since I've seen him, 4 or 5 months anyway. And I don't expect him to answer me. And when I say, did you have a good sleep last night? He'll go, and it's just like he's thinking up the answer. And he will stay in the state until he figures out what it is that he wants to say. So funny. And he loves to open and close doors. And they love the cats that are here, because these cats, the 2 that were from the neighbors next door, those 2 cats will let those kids pick them up and haul them around. It is amazing. Now Braveheart is old enough that he's not having it. He'll put up with the darn little dog who comes to visit, but he is not putting up with those kids. Nope. He is not putting up with them. Anyway, so we had a good time Saturday. Getting acquainted again and seeing how the kids had changed. They are 4 and almost 2. And last night, yesterday was Mommy's birthday. And so she had asked if we might feel comfortable taking care of the kids so they could go out and have dinner with some friends. And I said, sure. And so they did. They went out for dinner, and so we had the kids. Now, back when my son I'm having a hard time controlling my pens and talking at the same time. When my son was little, car seats were a pretty new thing. Pretty new. Car seats today, I mean, it is just impossible for parents to even think that car seats hadn't always, it's kind of like cell phones. You know, they can't believe that you didn't always have a cell phone, that you didn't always have car seats. And Elton has, he has worked with car seats with his granddaughter because he was around her a lot more. And so he knew car seats. And I'm like, it's okay. Elton's here. He'll understand how to put them in and out of the car seats. I'm telling you, those car seats, the 4-year-old could say, now do this and now do that. We went to get custard. And so, let's see, let's just sparkle this up where I have these dots. We went to get custard at Culver's. And I am telling you, that little boy, not yet 2 years old, was quite the handful dealing with the custard, because he could handle the spoon and he wanted to feed himself, which was fine. And his big sister asked for sprinkles. She wanted an ice cream cone, and she asked for sprinkles on her ice cream cone. And they brought the ice cream cone to us before they got the sprinkles on it. So we nearly had a meltdown over that, but we narrowly escaped that. And the sprinkles got put on Liam's ice cream. So he's got bright blue sprinkles, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that is a lot of blue color there. And so he and his sister had to share the sprinkles, the bright blue sprinkles, and oh my goodness. And we were good. We were good with the custard until the custard began to melt. And when the custard began to melt, then little brother needed to clean up as he was going. So he has a spoonful of custard dripping with custard and sprinkles. It's dripping on the table. It's dripping down his front. And he sees the drips, and he's upset by the drips. And so he grabs a fistful of napkins, and he's cleaning the table. Meanwhile, the drips are running down his arm and all. It was hysterical. I thought, and Elton is over there taking video. He's taking videos and pictures while I'm navigating. Oh my goodness, it was so funny. It was hysterical. Yes. Okay, any questions? Hi Riri. Amber, was it your birthday? Your birthday's Wednesday? Yeah, hers was Sunday. It was so funny. Oh my goodness, it was funny. Okay, let's keep going here. Once this dries down here, once this white is dry, then I'll add a little bit more black into it just to do it. And we may add a little bit more white right in here. Anyway, so then we got back home, and the kids had played outside. We live in the country, and the kids had played outside in the dirt. I mean, you really couldn't tell what color their feet were. It was really funny. And I said, well, we're going to go take a bath. And of course, they thought that was great. So I went and hunted up some stuff in the kitchen. You know, when you don't have little kids around all the time, you're not equipped for all the stuff that that is good for little kids in bathtubs, right? And so I got the bath water ready for them and got them in the tub, and they played for a long time. And Elton looks over and he says, and both the kids are very blonde, very, very blonde hair. And so you can see their scalp pretty easily when their hair gets wet. He says, are those ticks in his head, in his scalp? No, it wasn't ticks. It was just plain old fashioned dirt. He just had plain old fashioned dirt. Because he was picking up dirt and dumping it on his head. So they played for a long time in the bathtub, which was great. And then they were both getting tired, and it wasn't going to be too long before Mommy and Daddy got back, and so we put, I don't know, something on TV, some kid show thing we put on TV. I don't even know what it is, because when you don't have little kids yourself, you lose track of what the the good stuff is for kids. And my granddaughter doesn't let them spend a lot of time in front of screens, which I definitely appreciate. Anyway, so we were watching whatever it was on TV, and Elton's over there going to sleep, because that's what grandpas do, don't they? Isn't that what they're supposed to do, is go to sleep? And then Mommy and Daddy came home, and they had stopped someplace at a Dairy Queen, and they had bought an ice cream cake to celebrate Mom's birthday. Well, don't you know, that was just the most wonderful thing. So then we had to get the ice cream going again. And the kids just loved singing happy birthday to Mommy, and having ice cream cake. And so we had more ice cream, and then kids got cleaned up, and everybody's kind of getting tired, and Liam disappears in the living room and got real quiet. Okay, there's a couple of situations that you worry about. You worry about children, little kids especially, if they get real quiet. The other thing you worry about is and this used to happen to me when Clausman, who was my former husband, when he'd get quiet, he had dementia. And so when he'd get quiet, I was like, oh, there's a problem. Or if you have a puppy, that you're training, and the puppy gets real quiet, you have to worry. So all of a sudden, we all become aware of the fact that the baby, who is not a baby anymore, is gone totally silent. Completely silent. Hey, Dorothy. Good to see you. So I said, where's Liam? And Christy, all of a sudden, my granddaughter, said, I'm not sure. So she gets up to go see, and she looks and because you couldn't see the living room from where we were in the kitchen. So she goes around and looks in there, and she started laughing. She said, you got to come see. And I went in there, and he had found a box of Kleenex tissues and discovered how much fun it was to pull them out of the box. The box had quite a few tissues in it, and he had emptied the box, and he was sitting in the middle of the tissues, throwing them up in the air and watching them flutter down and all of that. It was so funny. Yeah, so it was kind of like, well, if anybody needs a tissue, we have them ready now. And of course, he was not very amused when they got cleaned up. He wasn't too amused about that. Oh my goodness, that was so funny. Anyway, so, and then Mommy took him and the little girl to go to bed, because she was going to put him down herself, and Daddy was staying out and talking with us. Sorry, my brain is trying to talk and do this at the same time. Doesn't always work out so well. Anyway, so she was going to put them to bed, and she finally came out with, she came back to the kitchen with Liam. The little girl had gone to sleep, and she came out with Liam. And he had been laying in bed. He was not asleep because he had had way too much sugar. And also, he had gone to sleep in the car for about five or 6 minutes. And if any of you know anything about kids, if they go to sleep, and my son was like this too, if they go to sleep in the car, if it's 5 minutes or 5 hours, it has about the same effect. And yeah, he went to sleep and woke up, and so he's done. He's had a nap. He's not going back to sleep at all. And so while he was in bed with Mommy and Sister, he was picking up her foot. Sister's asleep. He's picking up her foot and then slamming her leg back down on the mattress. And she's sound asleep. I don't know how kids sleep through this stuff. And then he'd pick up her leg and do it again. And my granddaughter was like, she said, finally, we just have to give it up and come out. And so we put him in the Tupperware cabinet so he could play with that. And, you know, it was pretty funny. So when he finally gave it up and went to sleep, then everybody else finally went to sleep too. But he had certainly enjoyed unboxing a whole box of tissues and tormenting his sister. Yeah, so that was last night. All right, I'm going to come in here. And see if we can detail these little hearts a little bit better. Since I kind of lost the detail with the white pen there. And this morning I looked outside. The kids were up and Mommy and Daddy were trying to pack the car, pack the stuff. And I looked outside and here's the little girl and she's got a hold of socks. And that cat is just amazing. He is truly amazing. He did not grow up with children. And she's got, this cat, Socks is big. He's a big guy. And she's got a hold of him, one arm under his tail, one arm under his chin. And, you know, she's leaning back as far as she can go. And she's got this big cat. And he's just kind of hanging out like, I know I have to put up with this. I'm not sure why, but I have to put up with this. So anyway, okay, let's keep going here. Otherwise, we'll be doing this forever. Okay, in this one, I'm just going to add dots in the background. So that was our weekend. And we had a good time. Not very often do we get to spend time with them. They live too far away. Okay, so we have some white dots down there. We'll let that see what it's going to do. And then I'm going to come back and dot a little bit in these. I don't know what these are, just little designs. Remember not to be stuck on perfection when you do this. remember to have fun and enjoy the process of being creative. Oh, the pile of Kleenex. I wish you guys could have seen that. I should have taken a picture of it. I was laughing too hard. But you know how little kids are. They start doing something and they go, well, this is great. Yep. That's kind of how he was. But it just amazes me that you can ask him questions now and have conversation with him. And so anytime I ask him a question, the first thing he would say was, He had to think up the answer. And he loved doors. He's really into doors now. And so he had to, okay. I may regret this. No, I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to use the other one. Use the other pen. I'm just going to highlight these little, where the little salt crystals were. I'm just going to highlight in there. So you can kind of still see the salt crystal. Yeah. Anyway, so I had a door that goes into my sewing room, and I keep those doors closed because they're right off the front, right across from the front door when you come in the house. So I you know, sometimes that room may be messy depending on what I'm doing in it, and so I just keep the doors. They're like French doors. I just keep them shut. But I have a bell on the door in case, you know, in case kids go in there or something, because there's stuff in there that they actually could get hurt on. And so I have a bell hanging on the door handle. And he can open either a lever door handle or the kind that turns. And he loves to open and close doors. So every door that's closed should be open, and every open door should be closed. And so he was going around opening and closing doors, and I said, come here, I'll show you the magic door. Oh, that intrigued him immensely, so he came over where I was at the sewing room and opened the door, and he heard that bell hanging on the door, and he was like, oh, what is this magic? For sure this is magic. Oh, he's so funny. He was very intrigued. Did not offer to take the bell off the door handle, which I assumed he would, but he did not. And but he sure liked that. He sure liked the magic part of that. Yeah. Okay, so we have some white on that. Bye, Ellen. Good to see you. All right, let's go a little bit more. I'm going to have to put a paper towel here so I don't lean on anything in here. Let's go back to the white dotting one, and let's just put some white dots around in this one. I do kind of like this white dotting marker. It's not super bright white, but it's bright enough that if I add another one of the panda fly white dots in the middle of it, it gives kind of a two-tone effect. But oh, sorry, you couldn't even, I'm sorry, you couldn't even see that. I am such a good demonstrator here tonight. Indeed. Okay, and then we're just going to put some white marks in here just to sparkle this up a little bit. Now, if you wanted to use colored pens, the ones that I recommend for this are the Moonlight Jelly Roll pens. Those are the best ones to use for adding color to either dark or light surfaces. They work really well for that. All right, I'm going to do these two, this green one and this purple one. We'll do those, and then I'm gonna stop with that, and I'm going to just show you the background, what I used for the background on the other one. And this is what I do with this stuff. I just play back and forth with the color. I go back to the white and then back to the black and just play with it until I get what it is that I like. When I'm happy with it and it feels done, then it's time to move on. All right, let's come over here to this little part of a purple one here. And we'll just add some white dots coming in here. So this part of it is not actually using watercolors. We're not going to use watercolors tonight as such, but we are embellishing what we created with the watercolors. And sometimes you don't need to do a lot. Like I probably won't do anything else on this purple one. And then here we have this green one. The reason this has this weird looking heart on it is because that's what I saw created by the salt crystals. Yeah, Amber says it kind of reminds her of Chance and his door fascination. In case any of you don't know what she's talking about, Chance was one of my 2 Siamese cats I had. And when they came to live with me, I was at my house where my studio was on the middle level of the house. And there was a door, was a single door that shut that part of the house off. And so Chance discovered, because they came to live with me when they were 5 and 6 years old. He was 5. Charlie was 6. And when they came to live with me, they were both full of spit and vinegar, let me tell you, especially Chance. And I had to keep him busy or he would find things. He was the epitome of "We're Siamese, if you please," from Lady and the Tramp. And he discovered, because they lived in that level of the house, and there were reasons that they started out there. They eventually got the run of the house, but they started there for a long time. And he got to the point where he realized that once I started opening that door and letting them explore more of the house, they would always go back into the studio because that was their safe spot. That's where their food was, the litter box and all that kind of stuff. And so he discovered that he could get my attention if he would get behind the door and he could stand up on his hind legs and he could walk on his hind legs and push the door shut, and he would slam the door shut going into that space. And it would make a great big noise, which would upset Muppet, the dog, and she would go ripping up the stairs and getting her hackles up, and she'd get all flustered because who is doing this to our house? Oh, it's the cat. Well, then he realized that other doors in that space he could do the same thing to. So he could slam the bathroom door shut, except that meant he was on the inside of the door and he could slam that door shut. And then he would cry because he was trapped in the bathroom. And frequently he could trap Charlie in there also, and that would get everybody upset. He could also trap them, or one of them he could put into the other room where my sewing room was, and he could do the same thing. So Clausman, aka RL, my former husband, built these funny looking contraptions that were door stops that had to go up high. You couldn't have them down low, or Chance was too smart. He'd figure that out. They had to go up high on the door and out of the shot of the camera, so I could keep the door from slamming shut, so that way he couldn't slam or, make anybody stay where they weren't supposed to stay and get everybody all upset. Yeah, that's what Amber's talking about. Yes, indeed. So little Liam is kind of like that with his fascination with doors. Indeed. Okay, so right here, this was the shape that I saw within the salt crystals, and so that's why this funny looking heart is here. And I outlined it, and then I put little circles in there in black ink to further call attention to this funky little heart. And so now I'm just going to come in here and dot inside the little black outline circles. We're going to dot with the white pen. And then I didn't know what else to do within this shape because it just was a little weird. And so I just drew all of these funny looking little comma stroke type shapes or teardrop kind of shapes around that. So I think we may leave that alone, except for adding some I think we're just going to add some nice border of black dots out here. Yeah, so that's what Amber was talking about with Chance and his obsession with doors. Ugh, that cat was something else when it came to doors. So over the weekend, if I would say, well, hi, Braveheart. What are you doing? Did you come in to say hello? Can you hear this pitiful little meow of his? I don't know if you can hear him. Hi, you want to come say hello to your fan club? Come here. So Liam was in charge of opening all doors all weekend. And today, after they all left, we took them out for breakfast. Okay, just a minute. And he was doing exactly this, following me around the house all day. Well, not all day. Oh, he finally left. He's probably going to go busy himself elsewhere. He followed me around for, I don't know, probably the next 2 hours in the house as I was, doing laundry and putting stuff away and picking up and, all the stuff you got to do when you have little kids around. And he followed all around. And he wasn't really meowing at me, but he was following me. And it really was as though he was saying, "Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? I have done without your lap for 2 days, and that's long enough." And finally, I was like, oh, for goodness sakes. I finally sat down, and I mean, I hardly sat down on the couch, and he is in my lap, and so I am holding him. He wasn't going to have He wasn't going to let me do anything but just hold him. So that's what I did. I held him. And then he finally got hot, I guess, and he moved off of me and got beside me on the couch. And I'm like, oh, good. So I had all my stuff in there because I thought once he gets off me, gets enough lap time, I can start working on all this stuff for tonight. Yeah, well, so I have a lap tray. I put it in my lap. I put my paper on my lap. I get my pens all ready. And he'd been asleep beside me. And that's when he woke up like, what is this on your lap? What is this? I don't know what this is. And he promptly climbs up on top of the lap desk, on top of the artwork, and just makes himself at home. So there wasn't any more work that I could do on that. Come here. Come on. Come here. Come on. Come say hi to your people. Come here. Yes, your fans want to see you. Come here. Can you hear his little meow? Is Starla here? Hey, Starla. Come here. Come here. Oh, come here and say hello to everybody. Come here. Come here. Come on. Yes. Yes. It's your people. It's your fan base. Yeah, it's your people. So he then had to occupy the lap desk. This is Braveheart. Yes, he is an old boy. He's about 14 now. He's still in really good shape, other than he's getting real thin. But his coat is in really good shape, and he has all the a very tiny meow for a nice cat. And he loves being held. And he has a great purr. He's a good boy. I'm telling you, this is Chance reincarnated. Yes. If he was in the house with me when I was getting ready to record a video or any of that kind of stuff, he would be right in here just like Chance was. Yep. He really doesn't meow. He does squeak. That is true. He is such a good kitty. He's such a good boy. Look at that little face. Yeah. But he was having nothing to do with those kids. Not one thing. He did not want anything to do with those kids. He went under the bed. He stayed outside. He did all the things. He wasn't having any part of those children. No. But Socks and Beckett thought it was great. They both were so good with those kids. Blue, we didn't see Blue for 2 days. Yeah. Are you done? Are you done with your fan club adoration society? You're such a good boy. Okay, you can get down. Okay, so let's finish this up. I still have a little bit more of the detail stuff, with the white and the black things, but I'll show you. So I have a little bit more that I'll do, but you can see how this sparkles around here like this with the addition of the white. These three right here have not had anything done to them. So you can see how different they look. This is what I use to put in the background. These are metallic Poscas. There are also metallic Sharpies in here, but I did use just the Poscas on the other one because they're all the same size. And so I used these colors, and I have a silver one, okay? And the rest of these are extra Poscas that have not been opened yet, or Sharpies. These are metallic Sharpies. Did you know they came in these cool colors? Yep. These three are Sharpies that are metallic. You can't tell by looking at them from where you are, I'm sure, but it says metallic on it. Okay? That's how you know. And then you can get gold and silver. It's really more of a bronze. So it's like a bronze. I guess this is the gold. So there's gold, silver, and bronze in the Sharpies, as well as these colors. And then these are Panda Fly that come in the gold and the silver. So these are Panda Fly pens also. Okay, that's what's in there. So we're just going to work with these. So there is a kind of a pinky color, metallic. This one, of course, is going to be my favorite. It's that kind of aqua, teal aqua color, gold and silver. The silver doesn't show up much on white. Hey, Linda. Good to see you. I know, he just has the sweetest little voice, doesn't he? He is something else, that kitty. He is attached to me. Oh my goodness, is he attached to me. Okay, let's start out with this one. And I usually have a card or piece of cardstock or paper or something around to test the pens on. The metallic ones and even the other Poscas have a ball in them. They're paint pens. You want to stir them up, shake them up, and then test them on your little card to make sure that they're working. Okay? And then I just picked a spot to start, and I started dotting around the shape. Again, you got to kind of watch that you keep your hand from laying right down into the dots, because they do take a minute to dry. And that's how I started out. I just picked a circular shape and one of the markers, and then I just started going around some of the shapes. Let's do this one. And you, I don't know, pick a distance that you want to go between the dots. You know, if they're not exactly the same distance apart, I don't worry about it. I really don't. But you don't push down on the pen, just touch. Just touch down and it will put the dots. If you get one that's not exactly the right size, if it's too small, then you can just dot over it. Okay, so I've got a couple of those, and let's see, what else should we do? I don't know. Maybe we'll do this one over here, because I had kind of a mess with the watercolor right there, so that's another reason that I decided to put in a background around these, because that way I could kind of cover up some of my places where I messed up. And I can come back to this, no worries there. And then I'm going to take this kind of pinkish color, shake it up, test it out, pick another spot, and I just found it was easiest for me if I just went around the major color shapes. And like this, there's this tiny little space over here, so I'm just going to fill in with that second color up there. Okay? So I just get myself started and oriented and dot around all the shapes to begin with. And I do stop every, I don't know, couple of minutes, put the lid back on. Be sure you put the lid back on the Posca and shake it again. You do not want to shake these pins without the lids on, because you may get a big surprise. And that's not ever good if you get surprised by the Posca. Alright, up here, see, I did this row of black dots around there, so I'm going to add kind of in between those dots a row of these pinky dots. All right, we have this one and this one. And I think what I'm going to do on those is I'm just going to go around this one with gold. And I'm going to go in between the design. If there's too much space, I might do more than one dot in there. If there's not, sometimes because these are free form, sometimes I only have enough room for one. You know what? It just is what it is. Nobody, if anybody's going to get busy counting the dots and going, oh, but you put too many dots in that one space. Well, they need to get a life, for one thing. Yes, they do. And then let's do on this one, I'm going to go back to this aqua kind of color. But as I said, always shake the markers with the lid on, the paint pens. Okay. And sometimes I go back over the dots because I didn't do a very good job dotting, and that's unfortunate when you have the perfect marker and yet you didn't do a very good job making the dots. That's kind of silly. But that is the nature of the situation. Sometimes you just, if it's too small, dot it again. If it's too big, you go, oops, oh well. Okay. So all of this section from here over, we have the beginning of the dots going on. So from there, I just picked of these same colors I had that were metallic and that were the same size dots, just because I wanted to. Then I just picked a contrasting color. For example, in here, I'll come in, I've been zoomed out so you could really see, but we'll come in a little tighter now. You've got the idea. So now I'm going to pick the gold, and I'm going to go around in that same area. And I could, because it's so little, I could just simply fill in the whole thing. and I'm good with that. And then find another spot that might be a little bit different. Like, I don't want to go back over here with the gold in this area because I've got gold dots there for whatever reason. That's, you know, not what I want to do right now. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add gold dots over here. And as I explained earlier, you can, if you want to do the background, not with Posca pens or some other pens, but with watercolor, you certainly can do that. And it's fine to leave a white border so that your background watercolor, if you put it in there, doesn't come right up against your shapes. That's perfectly fine. Okay, let's go to the silver so you can see what the silver looks like. So I'm just going to add silver dots in here. Now, watercolor paper tends to kind of rebound because it warps. You can see how it's warped like this. So when you are doing something like touching down with a marker, I always keep my finger someplace to hold the paper down. Otherwise, it's going to rebound and bounce up, and it's going to paint its own dots. And it will do that. So if you just hold your finger on it, that will stabilize the paper so it doesn't do that. And then I'm just going to come in and fill in maybe one more row of those little aqua color, teal aqua color. And that little section of background is done. So you can see it beginning to take shape. I happen to like that. I don't know if you do or not, but I do. So there you go. And I might put a few more little of these little dots in here. And then switch to maybe the silver. And add a few more dots in there. It's just the way that I liked it. And it was quick. That was the other thing. It made for a quick background, and yet it was kind of interesting. It doesn't take a lot of attention away from your circle motifs or mandalas or whatever you would like to call these. They are definitely freeform something. It's kind of like, it's a little bit like freeform stitching, except it's freeform patterning. And then we'll come over here to this one and put some of these over here. I do love the mandalas that are carefully laid out with protractors and rulers and things like that. But boy, oh boy, do I love these, because they're just so relaxing. Okay, so that is how I go about, or how I went about doing that other one. I'll show you again so you can see. So this way you've seen part of it completed, a little bit of it yet to be completed. And this one was the first one I did, and so this has all the background on it and all the detail stuff, unless I decide to go back and add more, which is highly likely that I will add more to that. And then this is the one that hasn't had any of it done, which actually I like very much just all by itself. I do like it all by itself. Okay, now, do you have any questions for me other than what am I going to do with it? And we'll address that next time. Hello, Michelle. You're new? Good for you. Good. I'm glad you joined us. I'm glad you found us. Welcome. I stream on Friday at 2 Eastern in the afternoon, and on Monday nights at 7 Eastern. So that's when I stream. I like the undecorated one too. I do. Yeah. So what I'm thinking I may do, I've gone back and forth with what I want to do with these, and I've thought about making cards with them just because I love having a whole stash of handmade cards, and I send enough cards out that I'm constantly running low on what I want. Plus, Elton loves to say, do you have any cards, extra cards on hand? He likes to send my cards out too. He is great at sending cards to people. And the other thing I thought about doing with them is cutting the paper down into 3 equal pieces and just making little notebooks out of it and letting this be the cover for the notebooks. You know, because it's nice to have a small little notebook that you stick in your purse or your backpack or whatever, tote bag, whatever, to make notes on. I am always looking, I don't know how much paper I have, a lot. And I'm always looking for something to make a note on, honestly. So I thought about doing that too. So I'm not sure what we're going to do. Do you have any other ideas? Hey, Denise, good to see you. Any other ideas that you think of other than like ATCs, bookmarks, cards, note cards, postcards? Those are all kind of my fallback on things. Journal covers. But I thought little notebook, making little notebooks, because out of those 3 sheets of paper, if I do them just with those sheets of watercolor paper, I could get 9 little notebooks, which would be good. So anyway, if you have suggestions, you can always leave them in the comment section below the video. And with that, I am going to tell you guys good night, and that I will see you before you know it, because I'll be back on Friday. It is Good Friday, but I will be here. We're not going anyplace until Sunday, so I will be here on Friday. Okay? Thanks for being here. I hope that you got something out of the prompt things that I read to you, or about letter locking. Look up letterlocking.org to learn more about that. Or that you might do your own word journal of positive words or favorite words. I showed you that. So lots of suggestions for things that maybe will spark your creativity. Or maybe you can do some of those things with, if you have children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren. You can do things with them and get them active and enjoying creativity and art supplies. It's a great thing to do. Okay, with that, I'm going to let you go, and I will be back on Friday at 2 Eastern. Until then, thank you, moderators, for being here, and until then, I hope that you have a great rest of your week or whenever you're watching. And I will see you before you know it. But as always, remember to get creative today, because it's easy. and I'll see you before you know it. Bye for now.